Well, I can give this movie credit for one thing. Its title. Because she falls a lot in this movie. She is constantly ascending. Lazy Dude 99. Lazy Dude time if we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review. Talk about movies and comics too. Let's all go watch the Hey everybody, I'm Lazy Dude 99. Welcome to another Lazy Dude 99 review. Today we are looking at Jupiter Ascending, a movie by the Wachowskis brothers, the makers of the Matrix movies. Starring in this movie, we got Mila Kunis as Jupiter Jones. We also got Channing Tatum and Sean Bean, and a couple of other people, but no one else worthy of note. So basically, Jupiter Ascending is this movie about this young girl who is basically just an everyday girl. She is a maid, she cleans up in other people's houses, nothing special about her life. When one day she is grabbed up by this guy, other people are trying to kill her, and she is told that she's the heir to this wealth of a planet called Earth. Basically, she owns Earth, and she is the rightful owner to it, and other people want it because they want to harvest it and take people, basically harvest the entire population of Earth so they can basically live forever. So then the hunt is on for everyone trying to kill her, her on the run, and her, of course, falling in love with the guy that can't have his shirt on for more than 10 scenes in the movie. So let me just get started by talking about this movie by saying I had no idea if I was really going to see this movie or not. Like, I saw it from the trailer, and I had such mixed feelings. I'm like, well, the effects look actually pretty good, and, could be an interesting story. The acting, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Mila Kunis can pull off this type of a role of a girl that is thrown into this type of world. I've never seen her done anything like this before. And then you had, the villain who looked a little cheesy, but then you had stuff like Sean Bean was in it, and his acting looked really interesting. And basically, let me tell you something, Jupiter Ascending is it's basically a January movie that came out in February. So let me just start by saying that this movie had actually a really interesting and cool beginning. We start with these actors, this mother and father, and they were really close and in love. And then all of a sudden the father is taken away, the mother is pregnant, gives birth to Jupiter, and she's taken over to the country. And it's so interesting because her family is Russian, and she does not have the hint of a Russian accent on her at all. And but then the movie keeps going, and then we get Jupiter, and she's jealous of all these. She's a maid cleaning up for all these people who are rich and well off, and she's kind of a little jealous about that. And so then we have her thrust through the whole story. Let me just say that this movie's biggest problem is it is so forgetful. There is nothing really worth and memorable of this movie. I just want to say, okay, I'm going to go in, just so you know, I'm just going to go full into detail of this movie. Spoilers, alerts, everything. So I'm just, because I just really wanted to talk about all the different things in this movie that a lot of it just made no sense. Okay, so let me just say, from the first thing that I got from the trailer, the first thing that I thought, oh, that's interesting, I've seen it done before, but it still could be done well, is the whole thing of, I thought that one of her parents was going to be an alien that came to Earth, and then, impregnated, I thought her father was basically going to be one of these aliens from these other planets. She comes down to Earth, and then she gets her mother pregnant, but then dies, and now she's the heir to all of this fortune. No, that is not what happens, which I don't know why, because, let me just say this, the whole thing is, the only reason she is being hunted down by all these people and, hunted in every way is because her genes match the exact to one of the mothers of these three people who basically own the entire galaxy. Her genes match, meaning she looks a lot like the mother, and her genes look a lot like the mother, and the molecules do. Basically, she's supposed to be a reincarnation of the mother of these people who own all these planets throughout the galaxy. Which had me rolling my eyes, like, what? Why? This is such an easy thing to fix. I mean, what if you did what I just said? This guy was an alien from this wealthy family, the oldest, and therefore when his parents died, he inherited everything, but he ran away, came to Earth, fell in love with an Earth woman, you know, she got pregnant, then he dies, and now Jupiter is supposed to inherit everything. That would be fine. That's not really anything of note, but it's nothing worth raising an eyebrow over. But to make it like, okay, she is like the reincarnation of the mother of these three really creepy and really weird people that makes her... And she inherits Earth and a whole bunch of other planets because she looks like the mother of these people. That, to me, I'm like, that is head-scratching and odd and strange, and I can't really buy that as a character. Like, I can't buy that a galaxy revolves around the reincarnation, stuff like that. At least it doesn't make me buy it. The movie's biggest problem is just its characters are all over the place. This movie is trying to be so many different things, so many different science fiction things, but it's never really good at being that. Let me just say that the love interest between Channing Tatum's character and Jupiter, Mila Kunis's character, is about as good as it is in The Matrix, which means it is so stale. I mean, Jupiter is quoted in the beginning, says, oh, my mom says that love is just a bunch of hormones and rage. So basically saying she doesn't really believe in love. We aren't really given why. Like, we don't... She says, oh, I've had a lot of bad relationships, but we never see any of them. We don't really know anything about that, so we don't know why she's all hanged up on disliking love or anything. In any case, basically, she falls in love with Channing Tatum's character, who's supposed to be this soldier guy that was... Basically, this movie has so many things thrown at you at the same time, it's hard to keep track. So many different aliens, so many different things, like, well, you have this, blah, 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 and you're like, wait, what? Wait, I'm still trying to figure out this, and is this person trying to kill her, or is this person trying to help her? Is that person... Who's that person? And it's all over the place, and therefore, when it has time to develop its love story, it is very forced and very mediocre and very lackluster. It is very blah, and when they... Here's the thing, I don't think movies like this should use the word love, okay? Because the movie, it takes place over the, let's say, a week, 3 days, something like that, at most, the time frame in the movie. It is impossible to fall in love with somebody with that amount of time. Or I shouldn't say it's impossible, but it's very, 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 very rare. And if you do fall in love with someone, you have no idea to tell if that love is actually real because you don't really know anything about that character beyond that. So it's really, when movies like this that say, oh, I love you, or I have found true love, I'm like, no, you've just met this person. This is where you could say that you have feelings for one another, that you have things that you like about one another, but this is not the time in a movie to say that you love them, that you've fallen in love for them, that you're head over heels and you know that you're meant for each other, because that just doesn't happen in real life, and that is just unrealistic and therefore boring. I will say the action scenes are actually pretty good in this film because the effects are top-notch in this film. There's nothing that I'm like, oh, that looks really fake or that looks really uncreative. The effects are actually really good. I will say, though, that the ships could have used some more designs because the ships, all the spaceships basically look alike. And I'm just like, well, wait, whose spaceship is that? Is that hers or is that theirs? Is that, whose spaceship is that again? Who am I? I don't know. And therefore, you know, there's not enough variety to it. But there are some interesting things about these designs in these movies. Like, you got these aliens that basically look like the sectoids from XCOM, which basically looks like the gray aliens we see all the time in science, you know, in our history that people claim to have seen. But then we also have stuff like, one of the interesting things is this gigantic battle throughout this city. Buildings are being blown up here and there. Everything's like getting destroyed. I'm like, well, the secret of aliens is gone, right? I mean, there's no way they can expect us to believe that that was just something that's just going to get rolled over. And then a few scenes later, like, Jupiter's like, well, people are going to see that. People are going to know. And the guy's like, look, it's already being fixed. And they looked, and the buildings are starting to get fixed. And he's like, but what about the people? People saw stuff. He's like, yeah, there's already aliens working on getting those memories erased from people. And they won't be able to get everyone's, but nobody believes the crackpots that they are left over. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's kind of cool. But I think one of the movie's biggest flaws has to do with its main character, Jupiter. The problem with a character like Jupiter is we have this character who is basically just a regular human being. It's nothing super special about her, then she's thrown into this fantastic science fiction world. Okay, that's fine. The problem with her character, to the core, like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with the character, but the wrong with the way she is as a female protagonist, is she really does nothing for her own purpose herself. I mean, she's taken on this journey. She has no idea what happens. Okay, fine. But when stuff starts going on, she is never the one doing anything about it. There's a scene where they actually, and I just had to roll my eyes largely when this happened, where this guy who we think kind of is a good guy for a little bit, but then it turns out he really has his own evil ways, asks her to marry him so that they can, so basically so he can trick her into claiming Earth for his own. Yeah. So we have this cliched thing where she is going down the aisle and gonna get married to this guy, and the hero, played by Channing Tatum, who is not the main character, but might as well be, considering he's like bursting through all these armies and like, oh no, I gotta stop the wedding. I'm just like, oh come on, are we really doing this cliched? He walks in and stops the wedding just before she gives herself to this guy. That is so dumb and cliched, and I've seen that a million times before. And then he bursts through and he's like, stop, he's just doing this to trick you so he can have the Earth. And she's like, oh, okay, I won't marry him. Let's leave. So they leave. And then later on, she's kind of captured, kind of not. But basically, she's taken to the other guy, the main villain, who I will get in a bit. But basically, she's taken to him, and she's, given this ultimatum to either sign away the planet of Earth to him, or he's gonna kill her family. And she's like, oh, well, I don't know. And then basically, once again, he's the one going through all this stuff on this ship, going like this as much as he can. This is how he flies. And he's going through all that as fast as he can, and he breaks in, and then she's like, no! But to be fair, in that one, she actually does make a decision before he comes bursting through. But you know what I mean? Like, she is never the one making the decisions or making the effort or going through this. And when we live in a day and age where we can have movies like the Hunger Games series, where we have our main characters, female protagonists, actually doing stuff and making the tough choices and going into these situations, and they don't have to wait for a man to rescue her, which this character feels like she is constantly being rescued. As I said in the beginning, she's constantly falling, and he's constantly saving her with his space boots, which I will admit look pretty cool. But in any case, she is this type of character that is constantly getting saved over and over, and is never the one making these changes or making plans or doing anything. Now, I get that this character is someone who's a woman who is out of touch, like she is like out of her element. I get that. But I would like to see some spunk in her, some initiative, something where she doesn't feel like she's a character that is just there to be saved by the main guy over and over again. And if, in the end, is she the worst character ever? No, she's not like a Bella that is, like, wanting to be rescued and wanting for the man to do all the work. No, she's not like that. She's just a character that, in the end, doesn't have a whole lot to bring to the table herself, and just constantly feeling like others need to, like, feeling like the need for other people to save her and to explain things to her, and that she doesn't make a whole lot of decisions herself. And then we have we have the bad guy who I was so this is without a doubt one of the worst villains ever. This guy, Eddie Redmayne, he has this thing where he's barely even whispering. And then he'll yell like a whiny child! It is so hilarious! And I'm like, I'm literally thinking, am I supposed to be intimidated by this? Is this supposed to be the main bad guy that is like, ooh, look at him, ooh, he's scary, or he's intimidating? I was literally laughing out loud in the theater. I nearly busted a gut when this guy was trying to be intimidating. It is one of the worst villain portrayals I've ever seen. One of the worst villains ever. And he's so hilariously bad. It is so much fun to watch this guy go, I will own the earth. and I will destroy it. I mean, oh my gosh, this guy was so bad, and it was so horrid that it was so much fun. I was laughing every time he was on screen, like, you don't talk about my mother! Oh my god, he was like a whitey mama's boy. Oh, it was so hilarious. And he's supposed to be like, there's a scene where he's like one of these big lizard dragon-like creatures who actually have a pretty cool design. One of them fails him, and so then he's killing him down there. I'm like, why would anyone follow this guy? Why is anyone even afraid when he's like, don't fail me again? I'm just like, why is anyone intimidated? He sounds like he is like, Mommy, get me my squeaky wubba ducky. I mean, he sounds so non-intimidating and so hilariously childish and whiny and it's so funny. And it's not supposed to be. I can tell it's not supposed to be funny, but I just couldn't help but laugh out loud at this guy and how bad it was. One of the worst villain betrayals ever that I have ever seen. Ever. So you say, is there any bright spot to this movie? Kind of. Sean Bean's in it. Not that he's like, throughout of it, he's like a side character, but the fact that he's in it, actually, every scene he's in, it brings the acting level up a lot. Like, not that the acting is bad from all, the only one that I can say is really, really bad is the villain. I mean, Mila Kunis is fine as Jupiter, and Channing Tatum is fine as this other guy who looks like a wood elf if he couldn't find a shirt. But in any case, they're fine. Their acting is fine. They don't have any chemistry, romantic chemistry at all. None whatsoever. But at the very least, their acting is fine. I believe, when she's scared, I believe that her character is scared, and when he's feeling all tormented and doing that moody look, I can at least buy that his character has gone through some stuff. But when it comes to Sean Bean, he's the one that's in this movie, and it's just like, you know what, why can't you be in a better movie? Because I really like your acting right now, and how your character is this, like, scarred character who has gone through a lot of stuff in life. I don't remember the name. That's the thing. Besides Jupiter, I don't remember the names of any of these characters. And that's not necessarily... Well, okay, I remember Titus. Because there's this guy that's supposed to be, like... Is it Titus or Titan? No, I think it's Titus. Anyway, basically he's this villain kind of like halfway through the picture. And I could actually buy him as a villain because he was really manipulative. He pretended that he's a good guy, and then you find out he's a bad guy. But basically, after he's gone, he's just gone, and you're like, okay, well, bye. I guess it was nice seeing you. It was nice to see a villain with some credibility. In any case, though, but Sean Bean is actually really good. There's a point in the movie where he betrays Jupiter, though, for, that not really explained, and confused. Basically, this movie, it starts out cool, and then it just keeps on going downhill the more you watch it, the longer you watch it. It just keeps on going downhill, and it's just less and less interesting as it goes on. And it becomes so cliched and it just becomes such a pain to watch by the end of it. And with a villain that is so terrible, it is just... This is a bore, really. I mean, like, the action scenes, as I said before, they're good action scenes because the effects are really good. The problem is they go on way too long. They are, like, there's a scene where the whole bunch of ships are chasing him and the guy in Jupiter, and they're on the, the space boots going like, zoo, 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 and he has his shield up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's just cool, this is nice. And then it keeps going. Then it keeps going. And going, and then he finally gets one of the enemy ships, and then he keeps going, and I'm like, wow, this is long. I've already kind of checked out at this, and it's like they're kind of pointless in the end. They're superfluous, and I never actually feel like these characters are actually in any real danger. They are action scenes without any tension, and that really kind of takes you out of the film. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff going on in this film, a lot of things that they're trying to say, but in the end, Jupiter Ascending just becomes a forgettable, typical average film with some really bad qualities to it. This movie has nothing to grab onto. And besides that, though, looking at it, it's not the worst thing ever. I mean, it's not good. I'm not gonna say it's good or anything, but I mean, like, it's not like I was like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? This was so stupid. It wasn't like a movie that was insulting my intelligence to the point where I was actually getting angry. There are some things that I think are actually pretty dumb what they did, like the whole she is a reincarnation of these 3 kids' mother. That is just stupid, and you really easily could have changed that to be something that could have actually worked. But you know, there's some things where you want to just say, Jupiter, wake up, okay? You should get this by now. You know, she knows that they want to harvest Earth, but she doesn't know why, and she never asks why. The character never asks these questions, and, you know, and it's very easy for us to tell, like, there's a scene where a woman goes into a pool and she becomes young again. I'm like, okay, so they have this Lazarus pit, and that's why they're harvesting planets, so they can harvest the planet and live forever because they're harvesting these people's time or something like that. I get it. I got that. But it takes Jupiter like 20 more minutes into the film, and she doesn't figure out herself. She's told. Everything that she figures out, she is told. She doesn't figure out that this guy who's marrying her doesn't actually want to marry her to save people, that she actually wants to marry her so he can get her planet. She's never figured stuff out. Everything's always told to her, so it's hard to see her as a character where you are respecting their intelligence because they're smart enough to see things for what they are or to figure stuff out. She's always being fooled, she's always just being told stuff, and she's constantly being rescued, which makes the movie very, very lackluster and very pointless because there are much better female protagonists in movies these days. Is it the worst movie ever? No. Is it the worst movie this year? Probably not. It's just forgettable, pointless, and in the end, it's harmless, but it's harmless in everything. It doesn't hit you in any way. It doesn't leave anything worth remembering about this film. I can tell you, as soon as they stop playing the trailers for this movie, boom, everyone's going to forget it. The only way this might be remembered if it ends up on some people's top 10 worst films of the year. But I don't know if it will get that or not, because while I will say it is bad, it's not like to the point where I was like enraged or, you know, wanting to strangle this movie. Because the only thing I can say is super, super, super bad about this movie was the acting for the villain. Just super horrible. And that whole thing where she was the reincarnated mother. Don't get it. Don't know why they went that route. Just doesn't make any sense. But in any case, I will say that Jupiter Ascending is a bad movie. Is it worth seeing? No, not really. It's just one of these films that if you were really bored and you were in a town like I am that only has one movie theater, maybe check it out. But besides that, if you don't have any other reasons, if you don't have a reviewing channel to review something, then no, not worth checking out. So in the end, I will say that Jupiter Ascending gets a 3.5 out of 10. It's kind of a bad movie. The effects are good. The characters, for the most part, are okay. It's not really that great. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm LazyDude99, and if I don't like it, it's not worth it. See you around. Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon.